Those of you that follow me know that for a while I've been maintaining and working on a React Native iOS and Android application called Budget Warden. That's a personal finance budget tracking app. And Apple just released and announced that they will release iOS 26 in the fall with some new design updates and a new material called Liquid Glass. With that, I need to do a few preparations to my app so that it's ready for the release, and I want the new features to be available on day one. These updates will be primarily to change the bottom tabs so that they use the new Liquid Glass floating feature of iOS, the new Liquid Glass floating design of iOS, and I'll do a few fixes for the top status bar, as now the content goes beneath it and is blurred slightly, which doesn't work in my app at the moment. At the end of the video, I'll also prepare a new app icon using the Apple Icon Composer application. So here's my app running on an iOS 26 simulator. How you run an iOS 26 simulator before it's released is you need to install Xcode beta. If you go to developer.apple.com, you can view available Xcode betas and download Xcode 26 beta. And with the Xcode 26 application, you can download the iOS 26 software development kit that includes the sim. Additionally, we have this new icon composer tool, which we'll use at the end of the video to create the new Liquid Glass icon. But when you install the new simulator, you can use it with Expo to run your React Native application. And you can see my app looks normal, all right. There's nothing broken or anything like that, but we still have, as I mentioned, the new bottom navigation bar that is not native. It's using Expo router. Let me go to new Vim and show you right now. If I go to tabs layout, the file where my tabs layout is defined, I use tabs from Expo router right here. And these tabs are not native. They are built with React Native rendering and JavaScript for consistency or whatever. But we need to replace that with the native equivalent to have the floating Liquid Glass tabs on iOS. And we'll get the material UI 3 tabs on Android, of course. The other change we need to make that is obvious is I have this safe area view here above the scroll view, which cuts off my content. And that was not that bad with the old iOS release, but now with the new tabs and the new iOS release, we have this blurred background below the status bar. And the idea is for the content to go below the status bar and just be visible in a slightly blurred environment. So we need to modify that in order to support this natively and be more consistent with the operating system. So these two changes plus a new icon, that's the plan for the video. Let's start with this cutoff because it's simple to fix. I'll go to this is defined in a custom component that I have, container. And if I go to it, we see safe area view right here and a scroll view inside of it. So safe area view is an iOS React Native component that basically applies padding dynamically so that your application items, views, or content does not overlap with the system UI. But its place is not here. That's wrong, the way I've built it, because the scroll view, of course, will be inside the safe area view. And that wasn't a big problem until now, but it is a problem right now. And one solution would be to just move it like this, but I don't want to because I have this background cover here. This wraps my entire application, and it's always the root component, and I have a background cover set to background because I had some issues on old iOS versions, I believe, or Android maybe, and this fixed it. I would probably remove this component altogether at some point, but I first want to test that. And it's currently out of scope for this preparation for the release. So I'll just convert the safe area view to a simple view to keep that background cover fallback fix. And I'll add a safe area view inside the scroll view as I should. And I'll close it right here. Now let's just indent the internal view. Besides safe area and scroll views, this container component also just applies some padding styles, which is normal for a container. And basically, that should fix it. Just swapping these two. So let's save and check. It got reloaded, and yeah, it's fixed. As you can see, my content goes below the status bar and is blurred and slightly tinted, which looks nice. It's very well integrated, and it will look even better because the new status bar has the same effect. So it will feel very native, which is the idea. Now, let's tackle the tabs bar. The tabs bar, I showed you the implementation. The challenge there is I use Expo Router's tabs. The good thing is with React Native, I can just switch to a different package that is almost the same. If I Google React Native tabs, I can see this package right here, which is CoStack Incubator React Native bottom tabs. And this package is very similar in terms of an API to Expo Router. The difference between it and the Expo Router tabs is that this is native. It exposes the native platform tabs, which I want and I need if I want to use the new liquid glass functionality. I cannot just recreate it with React Native rendering. It's not that simple. So let's start and integrate this package. We have a quick start here and it's quite easy. We need to install the package, of course. That's number one. I'll switch to my Tmux Node.js session with where I was running the app server and stop that server for now. And I'll install React Native bottom tabs first. If we check out the guide, if we're using React Native for Expo Router integration, which we are, we need that package as well for integration. So let's install it as well. What else do we need? We need to add the plugin to the Expo app JSON config. I'll just copy the string because I already have plugins, and I'll go to NeoVim, open the app JSON file, search for plugins, and here we'll add it at the bottom, like so. Okay. Let's remove that quote. Oh, all right, that should be fine. No, I don't need the comma last for now. It's JSON, so it's invalid. And let's see what else we need to do. We also need to install Expo build properties with with Expo install. So let's close that file and go to my second session again with the terminal and install that. I closed the file because Expo install will also change app.json. And I don't want any conflicts. So let's go back to NeoVim and see app.json. If I go down, there we go, Expo build properties right here. It added the plugin, but we need additional config here. For iOS, we want static linking. So let's add that real quick. I need to convert that to an array. All right, iOS. And we'll add that. And now just close with a couple of brackets. Let me fix the indentation real quick. All right. I think that should be fine. And I probably need to close this as well. Yes. Okay. A little bit messy. Now, you can avoid static linking with this config if some of your other packages or pods are causing problems. Now, we don't need anything else. This is for other users that don't use Expo. The last thing is I need to go to the iOS folder in the pod file, and change the linkage to static. So let's do that. I will open NeoVim again, go to the iOS folder, pod file, and yeah, that's already done for me. But you might need to replace a different use frameworks linkage setting to static. All right, let's go back. Now the setup the setup is complete, but we need to actually write the code. And if we look at the usage with Expo Router, it's quite simple. So it creates an adapter pattern or middleware, however you want to call it, where it just exposes the same tabs object or component you can use as expo router tabs. So if I open my layout tabs file, this means I can just replace this with something new, which I'll insert right here. And that's this blob of code that defines tabs right here. And now my tabs are changed, but I have a few LSP errors because the options are a little bit different. For example, these screen options are unnecessary. They're styles, which we don't need anymore as we're using native tabs. We want native styling. The other error which will appear is for the icons. I'm currently using this custom icon component, tab bar icon, and I change it depending on if the item is focused. I show the filled icon or the outline, and I have a color. So we don't need color. We won't change icons based on their focused state now because the new iOS design, as far as I can see, doesn't do that anymore. It uses filled icons everywhere. So the problem with this component also is that if I go to its definition, I use expo vector icons and ion icons through it. And these vector icons are not supported in native components. If I go here, we have usage with React Native vector icons, and we need to basically get image source to use it in a native component, and that function is not exposed with expo vector icons. And we just get the runtime vector icons from it, and we cannot use them. So I have two options here. Either replace my icons library with React Native vector icons, which I don't want to do for 4 icons in the tabs bottom tabs navigator. I can instead just download the 4 icons from my icons as SVGs, add them to assets, and basically just use them in my in the tabs navigator as images. That works well, and there's no issue with that really. But for now, I'll just go back to layout tabs and we'll comment them out so that we can test the integration first, and then we'll add the icons. So I'll add a comment here, tab bar icon. I need to close the comment now, which I'll do right here for each one. All right, 9 down, close that one as well. And I've commented these out. We don't have any more LSP errors besides these 2 unused exports, which I can remove. And we should be ready to build and test this. We won't get icons, but we'll get the tabs with their textual titles. So let's run that right now. Okay, the build just finished successfully. I skipped it because it's quite wonky. It takes a couple of minutes on this MacBook Air with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So let's just see. At first glance, we have the new tabs, and they're working flawlessly, actually. We don't have icons, of course, but that is expected. Besides that, we have the glass effect. Quite nice. Okay, let's now address the actual icons. Well, that would be quite simple because ion icons are widely available, just freely available as SVGs on the website. So I can just open it, ionicons.io, and look for the icons by name. Here I want the filled version, as I mentioned, and I'll download the 4 icons. Stats chart. All right, I have the 4 icons now right here, and I'll just copy them, go to the project folder, assets, and I'll just add them to icons. There we go. And now let's replace this logic. I'll remove the comment. We don't need the new bar does allow focused here, but we don't need that as we won't switch the icon depending on the focused state. I will remove this completely and just replace the entire thing with a require, which will return, yeah, Copilot autofill that, will return a path to the icon. And that is correct. And we see our wallet icon. Let's now replace all icons with this exact line. All right, save, and we see 4 wallets. Now let's finally replace the wallets with the actual icons. Let me just see how they were called because I always forget their names. Assets, icons. We have, of course, chart, stats chart for reporting. Okay. We have cart for transactions and settings right here. Okay. And we have them set. Now, I expect, let me check. Accessibility. Yeah, here we have contrast issues. The thing is, this seems to be an issue with liquid glass everywhere, not just with my application. So for now, I will not address this specific issue with contrast. I'll wait as the release is in the fall. These changes will be in a separate branch prepared and I'll be waiting. And I want to release these changes like a day before the release so that when people upgrade, the app will show the new user interface fluidly and on the same day. But I'll wait because I expect Apple to implement some changes, as there seem to be many complaints about contrast everywhere. And if they make a global change or some setting or just change something, I don't want to waste time trying to fix it for my application. If they don't implement a fix for that, I'll probably add an additional overlay here that darkens a bit beneath the bar so that I make sure it's always visible. This is my plan. So for now, I'll do nothing. Now, we did fix the bottom bar in this overlay. And with that, the changes to the app are pretty much done. As you can see, I also get glass in my back button out of the box as I use a native component there from Expo Router, but this time the component is native, so no need to do anything about that. Yeah, with this, the changes to the app are complete. Now let's address the icon. I did notice when I was downloading the beta version of Xcode, in fact, let me go there, that Apple made a special app to design icons. Here in the Xcode betas, we have the icon composer. I installed it, and it seems to be a very easy to use graphical editor. And if we create a new document, I guess, I did play with it a bit, so I know what's going on, but it seems to be very easy to use. Let me add it to a clean desktop right here. I will minify that for now. We can use SVG shapes here, and we have light, dark, and monochrome options. We design our icon, we can see how it refracts light, and we have a grid. And we can also add a background sample. So I want my icon to benefit from liquid glass. It might become a little bit more shinier, more interactive, more integrated with the environment. So let's do that. First, we need the logo shape from Figma, where I have my branding designs. Let me open my Figma Dash and we'll download these. Okay, and here are the budget Warden brand guidelines. And I don't need any of these, I need the logos. Now I will need that shield shape. It's a subtraction, meaning the door is subtracted from the shield, but that's exactly what I want. And I'll download that as SVG. And let's add it in Icon Composer. Just drag it in and it's fine. Now we need to adjust the colors, of course, but let's first show the grid. I'll minimize that again. show the grid and adjust the size with this gauge right here. I believe the icon should fit within that circle. So I'll make sure that that is so, like this. And now, if you see the brown guidelines, the white logo is on a white background with this color, and the dark one is on this dark blue background with a lighter blue color. I'll change that a bit for the app icon. We will use this color specifically for the actual background of the icon. And here I have a gradient. I'll go to the RGB sliders to add this hex. And I'll keep it as a gradient. I'll add the same hex, but make it just a tiny bit lighter on the upper corner, in the upper corner, because I think it will look better. In fact, I will start over because I don't like how it turned out. Let me open it again and go to HSB. And I can just change the brightness of it. All right, that's good. The gradient shape feels is just a little bit better with liquid glass, in my opinion. Now let's do the subtract and make it solid white. That's my idea. Let's go to grayscale white. Okay, with a little bit of opacity. I would say something like 89. And I believe that's good enough for the light version. Let's remove the grid lines and check how it flows. I really like it, actually. It's close to the brand guidelines, but takes full advantage of liquid glass. I don't want to make the white logo more opaque because I want it to stand out. After all, it's going to be next to other app icons. Now let's go to the dark section. Here I'll stick closely to this. So let's take the dark background and apply it to the icon. Again, as a gradient. I'll just add it here and here. Let's close and go to HSB and increase the brightness just slightly at the top. That looks so good. And now I like it with the white logo, but there's no brand recognition this way. So I'll go here and again, create a gradient fill with this color, which is the dark brand color. RGB, I'll go with full opacity and add it to the other gradient item as well. And now I can open this one again and go to the HSB sliders. I close and open it because it seems to lose the value between HSB and RGB for some reason. And I will go to the color wheel actually and go to the slightly lighter color like this. That looks very good. And we have the effect as well to both layers, which I like. So this is white and dark mode. And monochrome should work out of the box, and it does. I really like how it looks. So yeah, that's my icon. Now I can export it to this, I can just save it to an icon file. Here in downloads, I'll call it budget BW Apple icon. And here we have the icon file right here. Let me switch to icons so that I can show you. And that icon file can currently be used in the Xcode beta. Now, the issue is I cannot use it right now as far as I can see because I'm using Expo. And I would like to replace that in my Expo config file. Let me go to app.json. So my icons are defined right somewhere in here. Let me see. Here we go. And I don't see anything in the Expo documentation enabling me to use a .icon iOS file. But it's still early and the release is a couple of months away. The iOS 26 release is a couple of months away. And I'm sure that Expo will implement something in the config where I can just natively include my prepared icon file. So until then, I'll just include it in the repository with my other assets and the preparation for liquid glass. And I'll check it in a separate branch, waiting for a date closer to the release, when I'll test, finally, implement any fixes for accessibility if Apple hasn't done anything by then, and just be ready for the release. This way I'll have a seamless transition. With this, I'll wrap today's quick coding session. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe so that you get notified when I release another video. As always, take care.